last year when the Nintendo Switch 2 launched, I made a declaration that I had no plans on buying a Switch 2 anytime soon, and that I was going to patiently wait for the right time. And as you could see, now felt like the right time for me. So as I unbox my brand new Switch 2, I wanted to share why I felt now was the appropriate time for me to finally cave in and upgrade to a Switch 2. And also kind of share my thoughts about why I think that a Switch 2 is going to be my very last console I'll ever buy. So what finally made me cave and buy a Switch 2, you may ask? Well, there are a lot of different factors that I'll go over in this video. But first, let's open this up and see what exactly I bought and whether or not I think it's worth it. This is, of course, brand new. You'll see that the box is a little smushed. Mostly because I had to order this online in order to get a really awesome discount deal that I guess I will tell you guys about soon. But it opens like this, and we are met with the console right on top. So let me try to maneuver this, and oh gosh, the Switch 2 is big. This is really big, and I knew it was big. I've held one of these before, and so I did know what I was getting into. But yeah, the screen is huge, bigger than my OLED, and I'm very curious how it's going to look when you fire it on. And of course, the Joy-Cons. Very much looking forward to these being magnetic and just snapping on. I never liked running them through my console, or at least my OLED. And not the biggest fan of the colors, but you know, who cares? I think I mentioned before how I was hoping to wait for a special edition for the Switch 2 before I buy one. And if there's a really awesome special edition of a Switch 2 unit I really want, I might just trade this one in and buy it, you know, if it's that special. But yes, it does snap right into place. That is very satisfying. And material-wise, I know a lot of people have said this before. I've watched a few people share like their impressions of the Switch 2 consoles, and it does have a more premium feel. Like the materials just seem better, and it's more sturdy, which I appreciate, though this thing is so big. As someone who loves my handhelds, I really like smaller handhelds. So I think that's also another reason why this guy might be docked more often than not, which just seems so strange to me because as someone who started my Switch 1 collection on the Switch Lite, which was handheld only, I've really only played my Switch Lite and my Switch OLED, which are my only two Switch 1 consoles I own, in handheld mode. I rarely docked it, if ever. I think I tested it like one time, and I didn't really commit. But this one, yeah, it's not that comfortable. I know some people really like, I believe, the D brand cases are supposed to be pretty comfortable. I might look into getting that eventually, but yeah, it's just really big. I don't really know if handhelds are supposed to be this big, but that's maybe a topic for another day that I'll get into. But yeah, overall, it's just nice. It is nice. And looks like the information stuff about Nintendo Online, which will be nice for, I've been really wanting to play Path of Radiance on NSO, and you can only do that on the Switch 2 for the GameCube stuff. So that will be something I'm greatly looking forward to, maybe a future stream or something. Yes, I will need HDMI cables for plugging this in dock mode. Also these, which I don't think I'm going to ever have my Joy-Cons off the unit, so I'm going to keep those tucked inside. Oh, and everything else is nicely wrapped in here, including what you could use for, I guess, your two Joy-Cons if you want like a controller. I never use these. Oh, I guess now's the time I could share another find I found off of Woot, and that is the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 controller. I love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and if you guys have maybe watched some of my videos before, you may know I have one already. But I imported this from Japan used, and so it's nice to have a brand new one that, you know, if in case something happens to my used one, if it stops working or something, I'll have a nice new one. I know it's not a Switch 2 controller, but I really like the look of this one, so I felt comfortable buying another one of these as my backup for my beloved Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Pro controller. But yeah, another loot find that I still can't believe they were able to find these in a warehouse. This is not the North American version, you may notice on the box. It's the, I think, I forget what they call it, the world version or something like that. It's supposed to be kind of more region. These are region free, so it doesn't really matter if you have a Japanese Pro controller or a North American one. But it's not a knockoff, which is unfortunately what you see kind of all over eBay for not very much money, but they are cheap for a reason. So you have to be a little bit careful. Of course, your plugs that you need to power it on. I know there's a trick that you're supposed to do so that I guess when it's docked or whenever it's being charged, you need to set it so it goes to like 90% to save the battery. So I'm gonna have to figure that out once I have this powered on. But here's the dock. It's nice. There is a artist I really like who makes these really cool Xenoblade covers for Switch docks, and so I think I'm gonna try to, if I'm able to go to, say, like Anime Expo or some other convention this year, I'm gonna try to seek one out because I think that would look nice on my setup here. But yeah, that is the Switch 2. It is nice, I won't lie. I'm gonna power it on, see if it turns on. Make sure the thing actually turns on, and it does. It does. You could see it there before it went black again. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there's the music. And yeah, it's a big, nice screen. I know a lot of people were kind of hoping that this would be an OLED screen. I have used these before in the past. I'm going to try to turn this off because the music. There we go. I have played on the screen before. I've had friends who've bought a Switch 2 and also have done some demo booths with Switch 2 units before. And it's a nice screen. Like, for me, I can't really tell that much of a difference between the screen and the OLED that's on my Tears of the Kingdom one. Really, I think the resolution and the, how it is 1080 in handheld is going to be a game changer, because I think a lot of games that I got on my OLED for Tears of the Kingdom, they just were not the best experience in handheld mode. And I think that's why I didn't really finish Tears of the Kingdom, which I feel bad saying because I love Breath of the Wild, but I never got around to finishing Tears of the Kingdom. Mostly because I just didn't really enjoy it on my OLED that I know is the Tears of the Kingdom version, but I just couldn't really get past how muddied it looked. Same with the Xenoblade games. I mostly played those on my Switch Lite, and going from, the smaller screen that makes it so that the tighter resolution, it doesn't look as bad until you expand it on the OLED. It just was not the best experience. And so I think that's partially why I haven't really touched my Nintendo consoles at all for the past year. Also, I've been distracted by other games that I've been streaming on my PC as well as my PS5. And so I'm pretty happy to, I think, now have this as an excuse, rather, to play more of my Switch library. And as for games, Switch 2 games, I mentioned that I bought Rune Factory Gardens in Azuma on the Switch 2 edition, because this plays both on the Switch 1, but I'm really excited to play this on a Switch 2 because it's going to look a lot better. That's just a given, right? It's going to look better. And I think there'll be fewer pop-ins and things like that. Now have it docked instead of just in handheld mode and play it that way. We'll have to see, because I never actually finished this last year when it came out. Another, I guess, new addition to my collection was another deal that popped up that also felt like just the right time. And that is Pokemon Legends ZA, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I never got around to buying the Switch 1 version or this version when it came out last, was it November, October? Really glad I waited, because this ended up being $29.97 at Costco. And so I definitely took advantage and got this deeply discounted, I think with a lot of other people, but Let me unbox it because I have not broken it out of the seal. Let me do that. So this game I demoed at PAX West last year, and I thought it was very intriguing. You know, very much a step up for Pokemon, but I was going to wait to play it on a Switch 2. And now I can. I still not really a fan of the Switch 2 boxes. I just don't like the red plastic. And just, you know, this is of course, both of these are Switch 2 editions, so that's why they have the text on the bottom. If people read it, they know that you could play this on a Switch 1, but no one's gonna read this. Everyone gets confused, I think, unless you are as online as I think some of us are. But that aside, we open this up, and you have, it's like the map of the city, which is cool. And of course the game itself. I know some people, I've talked about this in the past, about how Nintendo first party games, they tend to have, you know, patches throughout the course of its release. And if you wait long enough, you might be able to get a fully patched version that's a reissue, and upgrade your cart that way. For Pokemon, especially at the $29.97 price point, I didn't really mind. There's also DLC that I don't think I'll probably ever play, so I think $30 for the new Pokemon game. I'm pleased, and I'm intrigued by Gen 10 that's coming out next year. So that's just another RPG that we'll have to see how it goes for the Switch 2. But yeah, that's my, I guess, haul. And first impressions, just, you know, holding a Switch 2 that is mine for the first time. But for maybe the reason why you guys came here, why did I feel now was the time for me to finally buy an upgrade to a Switch 2? Well, there are multiple reasons why. The biggest factor, I think, was related to my last video from a couple weeks ago, and that is just the trends we've been seeing in not only the gaming industry, but electronics everywhere, and that things are getting more expensive. And, you know, with the current economy and all sorts of things happening right now, I can really see the Switch 2 getting some sort of price hike within the year. And I was able to actually snag this for a fantastic deal on Woot. And I got this console for $400 instead of the MSRP at $450. So a $50 price discount. I felt like that's probably going to be the best we'll be seeing anytime soon. I know there was a even deeper discount if you are a Sam's Club member, which I'm not. I think they had a few clearance options for Switch 2 consoles in certain locations at like $375, but that wasn't really within my means to pick up, even though that's also a fantastic price. But overall, I'm really happy that I finally got this. I think it's going to be a game changer when it comes to streaming and finally streaming more Nintendo games that I know a lot of people have been interested in my streams. And also just finally tackle more of my Switch 1 backlog that I've been kind of neglecting this past year. I've been doing really well with playing a lot of games that have been in my backlog, especially on my PS5, and some games that I also have on PC that I have physically elsewhere. But yeah, finally going to get through it. And the main other reason why I thought now was finally time to cave and buy a Switch 2 outside of price and the economy is because of boost mode. And so I feel like this is going to be a game changer, especially if you have a large Switch 1 backlog like I do. I have quite a number of Switch 1 games, as you could probably see. And boost mode just makes them visually look so much better in handheld mode, and you don't have to wait to play a lot of those and wait for the devs to fix, you know, how they are on the Switch 2 or have some sort of upgrade path. And of course, I think they're going to still do some sort of Switch 2 editions for some of the, you know, first party Switch games, and other third party devs are probably going to make Switch 2 versions of their games as well and maybe add extra content. But for the most part, I want to get through the games I already own. And I think the boost mode is going to be a great way to do that. And of course, when it comes to, you know, the IPs and things, I mentioned how I'm not a Mario Kart girly. And to be honest, a lot of the first-party Nintendo games I don't really have any nostalgia or connection with. So some of them I'm interested in, but also some of them, there are certain IPs I prefer over others. The biggest ones being Fire Emblem, which Fortune's Weave is coming out sometime this year. So I wanted to be prepared and play that, as well as Monolith, who is one of my favorite devs ever. And so some sort of Xenoblade game or the heavily rumored Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition. If that happens, I want to be ready and play it, and most likely stream that game because I love it. But yeah, it's not really a complicated thing, upgrading to a system, buying a new system. If it feels right, it probably is right. And I think the Switch 2 was a console that finally felt right for me. I don't really regret not picking it up sooner because, to be honest, I don't think I would have played it as much, especially considering the boost mode and just being distracted by other games that I wanted to play on my other systems. And that took priority, really, to anything that's in my Switch backlog or any of the new Nintendo Switch 2 games that they released. To be honest, most of the Switch 2 exclusive games, nothing that I need to make a huge priority. Maybe the one that interests me the most is Pokopia. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. But the Minecraft Pokemon game. But again, it's not a huge priority for me, so I might wait for that to be on sale because technically that's a Koei Tecmo game and they tend to be pretty generous with their sales. So I'm just going to wait a little bit on that one. Though I know a lot of people love it, so I think eventually I'll play it. Just, again, I have other games I want to prioritize, I think, at this point in time. And the other topic I've wanted to bring up is why I think the Switch 2 is most likely going to be my very last console. And it really just comes down to the presence of physical media. And I think the Switch 2 is going to last me a good 8 or so years. And I have a feeling that Nintendo and all the other companies really are probably not going to embrace physical media much anymore. And we've been seeing that push towards digital with Nintendo, making digital games cheaper than physical games right now for first party. Also, with how greatly the console embraced game key cards when it was initially launched. It's getting a little bit better now, but there's still plenty of game key cards in circulation, and that keep coming out from certain publishers. And I really don't think the PlayStation 6 is going to probably have an attached or a included disc drive. If it does, that'd be great. But I also think Sony's probably going to be pushing more towards digital as well. Even if they offer a detachable disc drive that you need to hook up in order to play your discs, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of online verification in order to get it to work. And for me, that kind of defeats the purpose of having physical media. Even if it's just a one-time thing, there's so many issues with hardware. People report, that they have to replace XYZ console all the time, or they can't get it fixed. And it's just not something that I want to really deal with personally. And we've also been seeing the quality of physical media kind of dwindle with games requiring massive downloads and patches. I just think probably in a few years' time, it's just not going to be a viable way to experience gaming anymore, which is sad. But for the most part, I'm excited to continue collecting some games for the Switch 2 and my PS5. And I guess embrace, some of my more vintage consoles that are behind me that I also cherish and love. For the rest of modern gaming, though, I might just have to rely on PC to feel that need and experience those games in higher quality that I don't need to buy an extra console in order to experience digitally. So that's kind of my thought process and why I was okay finally just buying a Switch 2 now rather than wait until an OLED version comes out or a special edition comes out. If there is a more definitive Switch 2 version with maybe a better battery or, some other things, I might just try to trade this in. I don't know where, but in my area that is. But I'll try to look at some options and see if I can upgrade to a better version and, enjoy the Switch 2 now. It's been my thought process because I've really been neglecting my Nintendo games lately. I've been playing so many of my PC games as well as my PS5 library, and Nintendo's been a little bit on the wayside. So I'm excited to finally play more on here, both Switch 1 and eventually Switch 2 versions of these games, as well as, of course, Pokemon Legends EA and Guardians of Azuma Rune Factory. I'll get more into that one. But yeah, I'm really excited. And I know that a Switch 2 is maybe not necessarily a time for everyone to buy right now, but hopefully this video kind of helped share my perspective of why I thought for my circumstances it made sense to buy it now rather than wait. And if you're still on the fence, you could decide if now is a good time for you as well, or if, waiting is a better option. We all, have different circumstances and needs when it comes to our hobbies. It's not all one size fits all. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and look out for more, I guess, Nintendo content. I don't know. I'm not a Nintendo content creator. But look out for, I guess, more coverage of Nintendo stuff that I'm excited to share when it comes to collecting, as well as, playing some of these games on stream and talking about them in future videos. But that's it for me today. And until my next video, bye all. And I'd like to take this time to thank all of my channel members for supporting my content as well as my streams. Thank you so much, and a special shout out to all my Orbment Architect level members: Trin, Night Noctum, George, Joe, Champagne Sherpa, I'm Aki, Dan, Wise Platinum, Scott Healy, Osman, Stephen, and Fight. Thank you so much for all your support.